You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/MBO. Terms and conditions apply.
What is up, folks? Welcome back to this week's edition of the podcast. This week I am talking to John from Voltic Devices. He's a wonderful dude. He's a cool guy making pedals and doing amp repair way out there in Delaware. He's a great guy, and I really enjoyed our conversation, and I want to get to it as quickly as possible, but there is one thing I want to say before we do, and that is just a huge thank you. I just want to give a huge thank you to you listening to this right now, because Stringjoy officially cracked the decade mark. Just a few days ago, we officially crested over the 10-year mark as a company. I know it sounds kind of crazy to say because, well, quite frankly, we're still the new guys, especially in the industry's eyes. We are definitely still those new guys that are selling strings on the internet. Some people still don't know that we make everything ourselves down there in Nashville, Tennessee. Some people still don't know that we are the first string manufacturer ever in Nashville. There have been Nashville branded things and things that said Nashville on them, and companies based out of Nashville that have sold strings, but we are the first ones to actually be winding them and making them to our own specs and doing 100% our own thing in Nashville, Tennessee when it comes to strings. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, we are entering the next decade, and I'm really excited to see what that brings, and I'm really just hugely thankful, and I know the whole team is as well. So thank you so much for allowing us to do this. We love what we do, and our whole goal is just to make your guitar play at its absolute best. That's what we do day in and day out. We strive to just make the best strings that we can and get them in the hands of as many players as possible. That's our entire goal. And thank you for helping us make that possible. If we're not in your local store or in the store you'd prefer, please ask for us in those places. It really makes a huge difference, and we will do the best we can from our end to try to get into all of the places you'd like us to be in. That is our goal. We want to make it as convenient as possible for your instrument to play and sound at its absolute best. But I really mean it. That is our whole goal. We want to make as many people as happy as we are with our instruments. So please ask for us wherever you get your guitar stuff or your music stuff, and we will do our best to get in there. Thank you so much for the 10 years. We plan on being around for many decades to come. So thank you all for getting us through this first milestone. Really appreciate it. All right, that is enough of that. Let's get into this episode with John from Voltic Devices. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, a show about guitar stuff occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and who am I? Blake Weiland, that's me. With me today, I have John Demaio from Voltic Devices. What's going on, dude?
Hey, man, everything's going great. How are you?
Pretty groovy. I just want to give everybody a quick update. If you hear an occasional low rumble, I might be able to filter it out. We'll see. They're compacting the ground like literally like a half a mile away, and I can occasionally hear it in here. So I don't know if the mic's picking it up or not, but
I can't hear anything.
I just
so.
felt it, and I was like, oh, there it is again. They wait until I'm podcasting to do it, apparently.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Maybe I can get it out. Low pass filter, or whatever, or high pass filter, some sort of filter. We'll figure it out. Anyway, nice to have you on the show today. Been seeing your stuff pop up around the interwebs, the pedal interwebs, more and more often. And you were kind enough to let me try out some of your wares, and I thought, yeah, let's do an episode. Let's get to know you a little bit. So, what's the John story? How'd you get into this?
Yeah, so I probably started a little bit later than most folks. Was primarily a performing musician before I started building pedals. I was in the Army band for a minute. Then once I got out of that, was kind of a for-hire guitar player down in Richmond, Virginia, and then up in the Philadelphia area. And when COVID happened, luckily I was able to go back to school using the GI Bill. I went to the University of the Arts up in Philadelphia, and they had like a really small audio electronics program. And the very soft pitch was, if you take this class, you can have a boost pedal or a fuzz pedal or something by the end of it. And so being a guitar player was pretty immediately sold on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of been gravy ever since. I did an internship with an amp repair shop up in Philadelphia, probably about a year and a half, 2 years. So I also do a lot of amp repair. And yeah, that's how we got started.
Yeah. Did you go to the class because you wanted to start making amps repairing amps and building pedals and all that? Or did you go like, well, this is something I'm sort of interested in?
Yeah, it was kind of that, like something I was peripherally interested in as a guitar player. Pedals are cool, but didn't really think that much was going to come of it.
Mm-hmm. So what about going way back before then? Like, obviously there's some steps before you get to the Army band. When did you start playing? What inspired you to pick up the instrument in the first place?
So again, kind of started late. I'm originally a bass player and have the typical story of, I had a friend that was a guitar player. He needed a bass player for his band, and so he took me to see Blue Oyster Cult at the College of Staten Island, which is where I'm from. And basically after that was just hooked on playing bass.
Yeah. What was your first bass?
My first bass was a blue Squier Affinity jazz bass.
There you go. Perfect.
That I thought you could only play jazz on.
It's in the name, right?
I know, man. I know.
Yeah. It says it right there. I mean, that's all you can play on it. That's all. Did you get into jazz because it said jazz, or did you just start playing rock?
I was just playing rock, and then later got into jazz. I was definitely confused about playing rock on a jazz bass when I was first starting off.
It's so weird. I remember being so confused about different gear things. My dad was a guitar player, but pretty much just acoustic, and really isn't into the gear side of electric really at all, even to this day. And I thought as a kid, like, well, my dad knows about all this stuff, right? He plays guitar. Surely he knows how I can get this sound. And he didn't. And so like I was listening to all this like the new metal stuff that was popping up at the time, and I was like, how did he get those down sounds? I thought I was hearing distorted bass. I didn't know what I was hearing because I was just a kid going like, that doesn't sound like a regular electric guitar. What is that? And I remember calling Guitar Center and just being like, do you have a bass amp that has distortion? And like, I had no idea what I was asking for. And they probably were like, this kid is really, really eating up a lot of our time. And they fortunately never really saw me until I had things a little more figured out. So
yeah. It's weird how it's like two totally separate skill sets, like playing the instrument, finding tone. And they don't always meet, but it's nice when they do.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that I've interviewed on this show who are musicians I looked up to for a really long time that didn't start getting into gear until really late in their career, you know? Even Travis from Coheed and Cambria, he was like, I'm just now kind of figuring this out, which is kind of amazing considering they're a rather influential band at this point. You know? But it was cool to hear like he's getting into it, and like he's always had preference for certain guitars and an ear for it, but he didn't really know what it was that he was looking for. He was just like, I want this, and then somebody would help him get it.
Sure.
But it is amazing how separate it is, and it seems to attract a certain type of person, and I don't know what that is either. I've noticed with any hobby that I get into, if there's equipment to obsess over, you betcha I'm the guy that's gonna be real obsessive about the equipment for some reason.
Man.
I don't know what that is.
You're in good company, I promise.
Oh, good. Well, I'm sure we'll get into more of that. So you're playing bass. When did you actually start picking up the guitar?
So I started picking up guitar while I was in the Army band. So basically, like how it would work out is that the Army band kind of have multiple like popular music ensembles, like a jazz band and then a rock band, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
And just sometimes like a guitar player wouldn't be able to make a gig because they'd be on vacation or they'd be sick. And so kind of
being a guitar player.
Yeah, doing guitar player stuff.
Yeah.
And so that kind of necessitated or maybe want to learn how to play guitar more so that I could do more gigs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a weird thing where I thought I was going to play bass for a while because my friends would make up a band before anybody had all the instruments. So
Sure.
well, you have drums, so obviously you're the drummer. But secretly that drummer wanted to be the guitar player, but he already had drums, so he was the drummer. And then I was like, well, I don't have anything, so I'll just get whatever we need and I'll play that. And that was going to be bass at the time. But then, like in a weird switcheroo, I ended up playing drums because that guy really wanted to play guitar, so he sold me his drums super cheap. And I was and still am a horrible drummer. But then I was like, no, I want to play the guitar. That's what I want to do. I don't want to play these drums. I want to play the guitar. So,
I'll tell you what, though, man, playing bass is a great party trick to pull out at a recording session or a jam.
Oh yeah,
yeah. If you're just like, oh, I can play bass,
mm-hmm.
and you just bust it out and lay it down, people love it, man.
The great thing about bass is if you do it in a way that nobody really notices, you did it right most of the time. So that's perfect for me. I'm like, oh, I don't have to do anything fancy. I can hold this down. But then inevitably when I'm doing content and every time it's bass content, I'm way overplaying because I'm a guitar player. But like, that's not what you're supposed to do most of the time. I'm not Thundercat over here. Like, I wish it'd be cool, but I'm not. Yeah. So you just started filling in, and then did you immediately go like, I need a 6v6 amp with this and this and that, or like what was the tonal journey? How did you get into there?
So I was like super, and I still am. I love like Western swing, like asleep at the wheel. Was a band that I listened to a lot, like when I was first picking up guitar.
Bob Wills, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of just did the Blues Junior, and my first guitar was an Ibanez AF-73, I think, which is like their hollow body thing.
Oh, we froze there for a second. Sorry.
That's okay.
I heard the Blues Junior part, and then it froze.
Oh, yeah. So it was the amp was the Blues Junior, then the guitar, I think, was an Ibanez AF-73, which is like their hollow body. Mm-hmm. It was in Purple Burst.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. It's a Guitar Center special.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome.
Then did you like get a compressor or then tube screamer and then like follow that journey?
No, I did no pedals for the longest time. Basically, no pedals from when I first picked up guitar until maybe like midway through college, which when I went back was maybe about like a year into COVID, and did the thing that everybody was doing, was just buying a bunch of guitar pedals online.
Of course.
So I got the Wampler tape echo, the Wampler hot wired. It was really kind of going for the Brent Mason, Brad Paisley kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So you kind of went with the Western swing and then started it kind of into the 90s country vibe of playing. Is that where you started going? Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that still like what you are primarily listening to, or is that just what you like to play?
I kind of like I go back and forth, make big left turns in my my music listenership, I guess. So like right now I'm listening to a ton of like Every Time I Die,
Mm-hmm.
Nothing, Dinosaur Jr., just like really loud, fuzzy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely go back to, Django Reinhardt, Asleep at the Wheel, Bob Wills, The Time Jumpers.
Yep.
But just right now on the heavier side.
It's funny that you said Every Time I Die, because I was actually interviewing Craig William. He's in Keith Buckley's new band, Many Eyes. And then in the future, I'm going to be interviewing the Better Lovers guys who are coming up here pretty soon. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah. And then, of course, that led me to, we were driving in the car. I was driving in the car with my son, and I was like, son, have you heard one of the greatest guitar riffs ever recorded? And he's like, well, I don't know. He's 9, so he hasn't heard it yet. So I turned on Every Time I Die's El Dorado.
Yeah.
And the end of that song, I was like, as soon as it came up, I was like, try not to headbang. He's like, I can't help it. I must headbang. Like, it's too good.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we had a good time there. But yeah, Every Time I Die is like absolutely top notch. One of my very favorite bands. I'm really upset I never got to see them live. Makes me sad. Hurts me. So how did you make those turns? You said you make left turns in your music. Like how do you end up finding that? 'Cause that is quite different. But it's also, I relate. I'm into both of those things. So how did that work out for you?
I guess it's just kind of like I'm 35 now. Just celebrated my birthday yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Happy
Happy
and I
birthday.
guess like thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of like revisiting what I was listening to in high school, seeing if it's still connects the same way,
Mhm.
or if it hasn't aged as gracefully as I imagine that it has.
That's fair. Some of it hasn't, but a shocking amount of it, I'm like, no, that's still legit. It's now of the time, but well, I think Every Time I Die is actually a good example of one that's not of the time.
Yeah.
They had a unique enough thing going on that it branched out from there. But yeah, some of it definitely, it's like, oh, that's very 2006. Like,
Yeah.
which is still fun, but it's cooler when things have longer legs than that, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Clutch is like another band that I feel that way about.
Mm-hmm.
Where like maybe I really liked them initially, and then kind of thought that they were maybe music wasn't complicated enough or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when you're like listening to jazz, it's all about like sometimes it can be about like how complicated the music is, whether it's really great or not.
Right.
And so I think that's why I kind of stopped listening to a lot of those bands. But then now coming back to it's like, no, Clutch is freaking awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Clutch rules. I mean, I think that's kind of a sign of growing up too. I remember the first rock show I ever saw was Dream Theater. So, and it was right off like the Train of Thought album. It was like peak Dream Theater pretty much. And that was my first rock concert. So the bar was set obscenely high for, technical abilities live. And I remember just arguing with people about, who the best guitar player was in high school, even without even really understanding what that even meant. I was like, well, it's John Petrucci. And now John Petrucci is one of the best guitar players ever. But I didn't understand, like, sometimes like the simple riff is really what you need. And greatest and best is just all subjective and stupid. And of course, you don't understand that in high school. It's not.
Yeah.
You're right, and everybody else is wrong. But yeah, so you moved on musically and otherwise, but like, did you ever envision yourself doing this as a career, or did this totally just fall into place just one step at a time?
No, it kind of fell into place. It was never really part of the plan to build guitar pedals or fix amps, but I'm kind of a solitary creature. I enjoy working by myself. I enjoy working with my hands. And building guitar pedals and fixing amps kind of scratches a lot of itches, because with repairing amps, everything it's not a very like you're not doing the same thing every day, because every amp is different.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're fixing 5 Blues Juniors or 5 Hot Rod Deluxes, they all have the same issues, but sometimes, well, every time you can kind of get to the right answer as far as fixing it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing with guitar pedals, right? It's kind of like for me, it's about finding like a pedal that I really like and then tailoring it to my specific needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you go about, like, you realize like, hey, oh, this is a thing that I enjoy and a thing that I'm figuring out I'm decent at.
Yeah.
How did you get the word out? I mean, it's a daunting task to start any kind of business, really. And I know a lot of people's first hesitation is like, well, yeah, how is anybody going to find out that I even do this to have a job? So what was it word of mouth, friends type of thing, or how did it start for you, like in an official capacity?
So I got super lucky in that we're located in Delaware, which is a super small state. And there's basically two other people in Delaware that are repairing amps. I'm the guy that's doing it in northern Delaware. And then in southern Delaware, there's a shop, Frantic Frets, that does amp repair. So being one of the only people in the area I think, has been a really big boon to that.
Yeah.
And when I was doing like my exit interviews at University of the Arts, that was one of the things that the head of the program, of the MBET program, said. He was like, you have no idea how big of a boost it's going to be the first person or the only person in an area to do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like automatically become the subject expert.
Hi, I'm Vincent, and I'm here to talk about the Maris Mercury X. My dad's always going on about how cool Maris is. He really went off on one about the Mercury X the other day. He said something about a 4,800 hertz sample rate and 99 preset locations in 33 banks, and something along the lines of the most advanced reverb pedal ever devised by man? That's all true, but I only care about one thing. This pedal sounds sick. So make sure you check out the Mercury X and all the other fine products at maris.us, as well as fine retailers worldwide. All right, Dad, now can I have my Pocky?
How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services. And it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff. Yeah. No, that's totally true. There used to be more amp repair people in Portland, and people occasionally will ask me where to go. And I'm like, I don't know now, because the go-to people have actually moved on to other careers as far as I'm aware, and nobody's really filled their shoes. And that's kind of weird because Portland's a pretty big music market with a lot of tube amps floating around. So it
Yeah.
feels weird not to know where to send people, because I'm just gonna go harass Chris Benson until he does it. But he's not going to do that.
As one does.
He's not going to do that for everybody. Knock on wood. He still does it for me. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know where to send most people. You know, it's a weird situation. I think Portland needs a few more amp repair people, because I think there's a couple still doing it, but we used to have like 4 or 5 that you could reliably send people to.
Yeah.
And not so much anymore. So anybody listening in Portland, learn how to fix amps.
Yeah,
please.
great field to get into.
Yeah, please. Do you mostly focus on tube, or have you worked on solid state stuff? Ran into much of that? That's an even more specialized thing, I feel like.
Yeah. I do some solid state stuff. For me, it could be a lot more challenging to repair depending on what it is. Like I definitely enjoy like the cool like 60s Ampeg solid state stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like real small. Like the B100, I think, is one of the models.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the old Yamaha solid state stuff, I find is really cool.
Oh yeah, I think it looks really cool. I've never played any of the Yamaha amps. I want to.
Yeah, I've had like an old like solid state Ibanez Tube Screamer amp.
Mm-hmm.
And here, cool. That was like the coolest thing. It's like a real like MIJ Tube Screamer in the circuit, and then like an amplifier.
That's awesome.
It sounded killer.
Yeah.
But then generally try and stay away from like newer solid state stuff, because it's not really made to be repaired all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that why I brought that up is there's one place I can go get my Sun Beta lead worked on here in town, and I hope he stays around.
My fingers are crossed for you, man.
Yeah. I'm not touring with that thing or anything, so it just stays here. It leaves a pretty cush life, but I want it to live forever, because I love that thing to death, and it can be a little bit temperamental once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm told I bought it from Thunder Road here in Portland many, many years ago. And I'm told it belonged to Paul Barker from Ministry before me. Although I have no proof of that. I choose to believe it.
It's a pretty cool story, man. I would believe it.
He lives in Portland. I know he's shopped at Thunder Road. And Will is a very trustworthy individual, so I believe it. But
yeah,
I have no proof if I was to try to trade on that. Trust me. I am on the internet. You can believe me. No one's ever lied on the internet. But kind of staying with the amp repair stuff a little bit. What are some common things that you run into that are maybe there's no answer to this. I don't know, because I don't fix amps, but that are preventable. Like, if you hadn't left this amp on for 4 days, it would have been okay. Like, or is there any like common things that players make the mistake of doing that maybe are damaging or shortening the life of their amps?
I mean, definitely like keeping stuff on for a long time. If you're not playing through it, leaving it on overnight, or multiple days in a row, is probably not the best thing for the amplifier.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the stuff that I run into, the craziest thing that I've ever run into is I had a customer that plugged a speaker cable connected to a speaker into the input jack of an amplifier.
What?
Yeah, he said that he didn't realize what cord he was using, if it was a guitar cord or a speaker cord that was connected to a speaker.
Okay.
But yeah, he plugged it in, and again, don't know if this is related or if it was something else, but he ended up blowing one of the transformers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it was related, but it's just very, very odd coincidence that they kind of happened right around the same time.
What was it? Because he didn't have a load on the transformer and then like turned it on? Is that
no? So it was like a combo amplifier. So it was all connected as a combo amplifier would be to the internal speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he had plugged a speaker cable connected to a speaker into the input jack.
Oh, like from a cab that was sitting nearby or something?
Yeah. And then when he brought it in to be fixed, the amp was just blowing fuses like crazy, even with no tubes in it. Weird. So I don't know if like one thing happened first and he was kind of blaming it on the speaker cable, but it was that was the weirdest connection that I've seen.
Yeah, I'm trying to because it's not gonna output anything, right? Yeah. So I'm like, how would that? Maybe it's just coincidence, but I think it's a weird coincidence. Yeah, well, that is a very weird. Yeah. I can see why you would want to blame that, because that is pretty weird. But it also, yeah, I mean, I'm not an electronics wizard, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, weird.
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah. So you mentioned you brought the Blues Junior up a lot. I'm guessing a lot of those come through the door.
Yeah, I get tons like Blues Juniors and then Hot Rod Deluxes are probably the two most popular amps that come through.
Mm-hmm. And is there a common fault?
Just the filter caps.
Oh, okay. They're just getting to that age.
Yeah, I mean Fender uses. There's this company called Illinois Capacitors
Mm-hmm.
that Fender uses, and they're just not always the best quality. Usually, like you expect a filter cap to last about 15 years or so, and the Illinois ones are maybe like 5 to 7.
Oh wow, yeah, that's gnarly.
Yeah.
It almost lead me to believe that they're not made in Illinois.
Not Illinois, USA, at least.
I mean, I say that a little bit tongue in cheek. I don't feel that country of origin, outside of like, whatever country you're wanting to support with your dollar.
Yeah.
I don't think that quality is necessarily as dictated by country of origin as it used to be, especially with guitars. I had this conversation with a few different people where, used to I don't want the made in Japan one. That's no good. Now it's like, I want the made in Japan one. And it's like, I don't want the made in Korea ESPs. Those are no good. No, this one's made in Korea. It's a good one, And now the Indonesian quality is coming up too. I just feel like the longer any place, like especially if it's an individual factory, does the same thing over and over again, they're probably going to get better at it, most likely. So I think that's starting to matter less and less in this world as far as a strict quality perspective. So
yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. So you got a couple of nice looking amps behind you. What are you rocking these days? What's your go-to rig?
The go-to rig is probably this was the most recent pickup. So it's late 60s Pro Reverb.
Nice.
Really enjoying that. I enjoy twin reverbs, and the Pro Reverb is kind of like the slightly lighter weight version of that. It's still pretty oppressively loud.
Yes. I'm glad you said a slightly lighter weight. Yeah.
I've been enjoying that a lot. It's got the original Alnico speakers in it, so it's kind of inefficient. Breaks up. Kind of the bass is pretty woolly sounding.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool.
Nice. How many watts is the Pro? I can't remember.
The Pro is 40.
Okay, so yeah, it's still healthy. Still healthy.
Definitely healthy. Yeah.
I'm always like kind of softly on the lookout for a Vibrolux. I've wanted a Vibrolux, and I want a silver face because I'm one of the weird people that actually prefers the silver face aesthetics to the black face. I know that's controversial.
I think the silvers are great, man.
I love how they look. I don't know if it's because I grew up seeing a lot of 70s gear in just like the places we would play, and my dad's got this old amp, and it was like always a silver face Fender, pretty much. I just really like that aesthetic a lot, and I know there's arguments to be made that the black panels are better, but
I feel like especially with the I'm kind of in like my drip edge era.
Yeah.
And so especially like when you get the drip edge, and then you get a little bit of turquoise in the grill cloth.
Yeah.
It just looks really, really nice. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I'm hoping I can track down a decent deal on a Vibroluxe one of these days. I'm always like, I'm never quite willing to pay like market value, but then like they keep going up every year. I'm like, man, I should have bought one a decade ago when it was not as expensive as it is now.
Yeah.
But the Vibrolux like sits in that perfect wattage range for me. I like a little more headroom, but I don't need it to be twin levels. And the Pro's like even still a little bit, and the Deluxe is a little not quite enough for what I do.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the Vibrolux is what I need. I'll find one of these days.
I feel like that's like the perfect like 2 guitar player band amp. Because I feel like it's got the 10s in it. So like with the 10s, I feel like it cuts out enough of the muddy bass where you're like not interfering with the kick drum or the bass guitar player, or if the other guy's playing rhythm, and you can kind of like sit in a nicer spot in the mix.
Well, I think secretly too that I didn't realize this until somewhat recently. I use a lot of impulse responses when I'm recording, so I'll plug into the Boss Tube amp expander and then run it out to my interface. And then I can just play with whatever cab I want, which is a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I spend too much time doing, but I've really fallen in love. York Audio has a bunch of great impulse responses, and their Vibrolux cab. They've got what he does is he says he likes to take whatever cabs he's capturing and just find all the sweet spots.
Yeah.
So because with an IR you can't like move it around like you can with some other different emulations. It's kind of it's a static snapshot of that particular moment. But he does such a good job in every position on that Vibrolux cab. It sounds so good, especially with like clean and like edge of breakup type of tones. With pretty much any amp I throw at it, it's like that Vibrolux cab with the 10s. It's like very nice.
That's awesome. I have to check that out. I'm a tube amp expander user as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I legit think that's my favorite piece of just gear. Not my favorite. Like I've got guitars I love more, obviously, because they're a thing that kind of draws some emotion out. But as far as like straight gear goes, that's got to be one of my most used and most favorite pieces of equipment. I love the tube amp expander.
Yeah.
How do you usually use yours? Because it can do so many different things.
So I'm trying to actually figure out how to use it a little bit better. I kind of felt like I was getting too much breakup from the tube amp expander.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently changed it. I was on the 50 watt mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so I changed to the 100 watt mode. I think it's a little bit better now.
Yeah.
But I'm in the middle of the journey right now.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know how I'm using it yet.
I got you. Yeah. Well, one of the coolest things I usually use it in the 100 watt mode. In fact, like I've only used it in the 50 a couple times, but I will run both lines out to my interface.
Yeah.
With no emulation on it. I do that in the DAW, and then mic up a cab and run that into my interface as well. And now it's like, okay, I get like the best of old school and I get the options from going direct while still playing a tube amp. It's just like, man, it doesn't get better than this. This is having your cake and eating it too. The one other trick I really like that it can do is like, I really like the tones of I've got an old Champ.
Yeah.
But it can't really hang in a band or something. And using the Champ, if you just want that grindy, like gnarly sound, use the tube amp expander into a bigger cab with the Champ. That's a fun trick too. Like,
Champ into a big cab is that's the move.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially when you have like 100 watt Champ somehow. Yeah. That's kind of the trick. It's great. It's I highly recommend it to everybody out there. It's a lot to bite off. It's not a cheap piece of equipment, but it's so versatile when you really dive in. Yeah, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with it over the years. It's a good one. Yeah. Good stuff. So what about guitars? What are you playing mostly these days?
I just got, actually, when I was in Portland for the Delicious Audio pedal show, which I think was in maybe February or March of this year. Had a great time.
Wherever it was, I missed it. I keep missing the one that comes. I did the one literally like a week before lockdown. I was at that one.
Yeah.
And then I've missed every other one after that. I need to pay more attention.
Yeah, it's a cool hang, man. It's a cool hang. It's over in the old city part of Portland. But while I was there, the Guitar Store Strum kind of hosted an exhibitors night.
Yeah, I love that store.
Go and have a beer and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the mistake of playing a Collings 335.
Ooh, that's
I just saw it, and I was like, I'm never ever gonna have the chance to play one of these again. It's like, so let me just see what the hype is about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the most insane guitar I'd ever played. Luckily, my wife was not in Portland with me because I texted her and said, "Can you please send me pictures of all of my guitars so I can post ads on Facebook Marketplace?" And sold like 4 guitars while I was in Portland. Said I could
really?
Yeah. It's like so I could get the Collings.
You were blowing them out. Just quick, hurry up,
dude! It's just one of those guitars when you pick it up and it's just like the notes just like fly off the fretboard. It's no effort.
Isn't that like a beautiful but also awful feeling? When you're like not really looking for one, you're not really like, I'm not gonna buy a guitar today. I'll go to the guitar store, sure, but I went to the guitar store hundreds of times and not bought a guitar. I always buy something, but not always a guitar. And then you see something, you're like, oh, what's that? And you get kind of that feeling, and you pick it up, and like you said, the notes just explode out of it, and you're like, oh wow, I don't normally impulse buy things like this, but I have to have it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely have to have it.
So I'm never trusting that feeling again. Just leave it, man. Just leave it.
No, I can't leave it. I've never left a guitar. Well, I take it back. The listeners have heard this story a bunch of times, so apologies. But the closest I came to like being responsible with that is I have an 81 Les Paul Custom.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it at the store and I was like, oh, look at it. I've been chasing a white custom for a long time, but I could never find one that I was vibing with. I started thinking, oh, I just like the way it looks. And that's it. Even though I'm a Les Paul guy, like maybe I just don't like the customs for whatever reason. And I could never find one that I really liked. And I played this 81 I didn't even plug it in. I just started playing it. I was like, oh no. Uh-oh. No. Be responsible. Be responsible. You just bought a guitar 2 months ago. You don't need another guitar. So I put it back. And then the store took a picture of me holding it. And they put it on their socials. And I just kept going back and looking at it. And I kept talking about it. And like, it actually sat there for a couple of weeks. And my wife finally said, will you stop talking about it and just go get the stupid guitar? I was like, see you later. Went back, plugged it in. Yep, this is it. And I'm actually really, really glad I bought it. Not just because it was a dream guitar for me, but because now I couldn't afford it. Those things, went crazy. Those late 70s to early 80s customs of every variety. Once that Adam Jones one dropped, everybody just cranked the prices up on those, and I was like, whoa, there's no way I'm paying those kind of prices. I love that guitar, but there's no way I can pay the $7 to $9 grand that people want for those things now. So
yeah, it is. The vintage market is insane.
I'm glad I got in when I could. I've gotten really lucky with a bunch of my older vintage guitars, so knock on wood that streak continues. We'll see.
Yeah.
I haven't had to pay quite what they're going for now. It is wild to see though, right? Like, and I imagine, is it the same on the East Coast? Is it just kind of a global phenomenon now? Everything's expensive in the vintage world.
I think so. I mean, I've had luck like on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace sometimes. People just like don't want to post it on Reverb. They just kind of want to sell it locally or to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely still like if you're looking for something, there's deals to be had.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, like I don't know, like finding a deal on Reverb. Sheesh.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I haven't seen one in a while. It's a good like what are these going for roughly these days?
Yeah.
Indicator, yeah. But yeah, it's definitely. I mean, and I kind of get it too. Somebody that's selling on Reverb for the most part, like knows exactly what they have. They know exactly what they're going for, kind of across the globe, and they're gonna mostly price them accordingly. And the people that are looking on Reverb are looking for very specific things. So if you don't want to wait and you want it relatively quickly, that's kind of the premium you got to pay when there's only so many of them out there, unfortunately. Yeah.
I feel like supporting local stores is always a good idea. So like I follow, shout out to Hank's Music.
Oh, yeah.
Always look at their prices, and I'm like, this is crazy. You can always get a good deal at Hank's.
I have so many guitars and guitar items from Hank. I can't even tell you. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow. More than I realized. I've got like 12 things from him that I can just see, and I think there's more.
That's okay, man, because he's the nicest dude.
I love Hank. Oh no, there's more. Yeah, there's this studio brought to you by Hank's Music Exchange. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's gonna come on the show here pretty soon too, because they just moved into a new location and expanded and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm excited. He's been a fixture in the Portland gear scene for 25, 26 years, maybe longer. I don't even know. He was in it before I got into gear, and he's killing it. Love Hank. He's fantastic. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Goodhertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblissaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/MBO. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, I'm Daniela Clark.
I'm Barbara Ann Wild.
And we are the Honest AF Show.
Our podcast is real, honest conversation with our celebrity friends and pros.
Covering our anything but average rock and roll lifestyles.
All while tackling the hell that is aging and the battle of beauty.
Oh yeah, nothing is off the table.
The Honest AF Show is available wherever you get your podcasts.
So have you been to the new location? Or
I have not been. So when I was in Portland, he was still at the old location. And the store, the day that I was going to go was a Monday. I think they're closed on Mondays.
Yep.
So I did not get to hit the old location. But every other store I went into, like Old Town Music,
That was Hank's old spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're all like, man, you got to go to Hank's. Got to go to Hank's.
Yep. It's great. Well, next time you're here, we'll go to Hank's. Yeah. You can see the new spot and meet him. He's fantastic. He's really, really a good dude for sure. He's absolutely one of the go-to stores. Another one that's like very like in the same vein, but in a different part of town is Paradise. Paradise is more out in the Multnomah Village area, but similar kind of vibe there.
Yeah.
And the guys are fantastic. Love Paradise.
I missed that one when I was at. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah. Hey, come on back. Well, last time my partner Scott was here, that's all we did. He had a couple days ago. I'm like, you know what? Let's just visit every cool Portland store. And so we did.
Yeah, there's a heck of a lot of them.
Yeah, it's great. What in your part of the world, like you talked about how you're one of two amp repair people. What's the store situation like out there?
So in Delaware, we're really close to Philadelphia. So it's always I'm like again maybe like 30 minutes or so from like Center City, Philly, which opens up a lot of stores. Like Russo's Music is the big one.
Yeah.
DePinto Guitars in Fishtown has been there forever. Has tons of cool stuff. Sold the first Klon Centaur famously.
DePinto did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew about the store, but I didn't realize that was wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he sold the first Klon Centaur.
Wow.
He'd be a great guy to have on the show too.
He would. He's actually been on the list for quite some time. I need to reach out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But down in Delaware, we have Guitar Center, of course. Some of my best friends just opened up Small's Music Shop in Wilmington, Delaware.
Cool.
Yep, they're kind of our North Wilmington dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And then down by the beaches, Southern Delaware, you have Frantic Frets, which is in Milton, which is another great store. They have so much cool stuff.
Yeah. The guitar stores, like I'm very, as much as I am an internet guy, I'm very pro guitar store. I love going to the guitar store, and I want guitar stores to survive because when I was a kid, there was nothing like just going and spending a bunch of time in the music shops, and especially the ones that exist now, I think are even more like there were some grouchy ones back in my day. I'll be honest. There's like, it wasn't quite as fun and welcoming. But now, like all the ones we just listed, I would love my kid to go in there and hang out and, buy some strings, buy some stuff. And like, I think what a great experience to have. And I want guitar stores to keep on keeping on. So I love that you were talking about, supporting your local guitar store. Cause I think they're important musical hubs in the community.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have that, it feels kind of empty.
Dude, I spent so many hours in guitar stores growing up, joined so many bands from the, pulling a phone number off the pegboard at the front entrance.
Yes, absolutely.
Good and bad.
It's a rite of passage, man.
Yeah,
You got to. Yeah. I mean, and it's actually encouraging to me. I don't know if you heard this or if everybody that's listened to this podcast has heard it, but on Chasing Tone that I do with Wampler, we interviewed the new CEO of Guitar Center, Gabe Del Porto.
Yeah.
And it was really refreshing to have somebody that has his opinions, and like he came at it not from the MI world, but as a guitarist.
Yeah.
And he said like one of the first things he did was go work in the stores. And he said it publicly on the podcast. He's like, we set these guys up to fail. Like, this isn't how it should run. This is not how you want a store to be.
Yeah.
And it was really like encouraging to hear somebody like obviously the biggest music retailer on the planet recognize that the stores need to be good and they need to be a place that musicians actually want to go. And I think that uplifts everything, ultimately, because there's some places where Guitar Center is the only option. There is nothing else. I was looking, there's a Guitar Center in Spokane, Washington. I'm like, I don't know how many other stores are up there. I need to do a little research, but that's a hike. That's just like kind of in northern Idaho / Wyoming / Washington. It's like way out there.
Yeah.
So, these stores need to survive too. But yeah, I'm always pro mom and pop. And I just think the more thriving guitar retailers we have, the better for guitarists, the better for the companies that sell through those outlets, and, all the above. So, yeah. So when you started making your pedals, obviously, you start direct, but did you immediately approach dealers with that?
No, I didn't. So I guess the plan was kind of to maybe like always sell direct.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a couple of dealers right now. We're at Eastside Music Supply, which we kind of lucked into.
Love Eastside.
Yeah, the folks at Eastside have been so good to us. And they had gotten one of our pedals. Somebody had traded in towards an amplifier or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so they sold it pretty quickly and basically just kind of hit them up and it was like, hey, you had one of our pedals. It sold super quick. Would you guys like another one to see if we can make it happen again?
Mm-hmm.
And they were totally down with it. And kind of been settling pedals for it's probably been maybe the last eight months or so now.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's been a great relationship. And then also we're at Tone Tailors up in Lancaster. But it's been a really a pretty slow process finding dealers, I guess, because again, like I'm doing all the building.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta do all the building, all the shipping. And everything's made on strip board instead of printed circuit board, so it's like a very, very labor intensive process. So I can't really pump out like 20 pedals in a day. It's more like 2 or 3 pedals in a day is a pretty good day.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it a little more challenging to keep retailers stocked with lots of pedals.
That makes sense.
So I just kind of find ones that are like really focused on like enriching their community, like we were talking about. I think Eastside does a really good job of that.
Yes.
Tone Tailors does a good job of that. Smalls Music in Delaware does a really great job of that. So just build the relationship that way.
Well, let's talk about some of the pedals since we've talked about everything else. Let's get into those things that you make and people probably know you best for on the internet, at least. So
yeah,
let's go through
them. So we have 3 main models right now. Probably the flagship model is the dual transistor fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like our germanium preamp. Cleans up really well with the volume knob on the guitar, but also does the blown out fuzzy thing.
Oh, you mean this?
I do mean that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
For YouTube, you
Wait,
can
do
see
we have
it.
the same pedal?
Oh, weird. This thing's fantastic. I had
you,
so much fun with it. I mean, I texted you all the stuff, but I'll let you explain it and then I'll relay my experience.
Sure, yeah. I feel like it's just kind of like a tone betterizer.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most common comments that I get from folks that get the dual transistor fuzz is that it just makes my amp sound better. but it makes less expensive amps sound like more expensive amps, which is always really nice to hear. Because expensive amps can be really expensive.
They can. And I can here to tell you, it makes expensive amps sound great too.
Yes.
It works on those too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I really like, this is kind of like my signature pedal. And again, like I'm into the J Mascis thing, Smashing Pumpkins, like that really blown out fuzzy sound. But I also do a lot of gigs with like songwriters. And so it's nice that you can kind of back off the volume on the guitar or just turn the pre down and kind of have a nice, just like colored germanium preamp.
Yeah.
Just adds a little bit of sparkle.
Yeah. What I immediately noticed with it was I was expecting mostly, excuse me, sorry everybody, had the blown out sound. That's what I was expecting based on kind of what little I knew about the circuit. I think I texted you this, but it was like, oh no, I can really go all over the place. It does that, but it doesn't do it to such an extreme degree, which I like that too. But once something goes that far, it can really only do that thing most of the time.
Yeah.
And this can like dip its toe into those waters without sacrificing everything else. So I was really enjoying the range and, you know, playing with my guitar's volume knob and just experimenting with the different textures. There's some really nice, like it's still fuzz, but like I could play this in a pop band type tunes, you know, tones in it that I really, really enjoyed. Or just like kind of finger picking, like I could sing like a singer songwriter, but like kind of like a Shaky Graves type of sound. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but like I could see it being in that realm, and I really like that. But I had a lot of fun with it. I'm going to do a little video with it here pretty soon once I get through the 40 other ones that I have to do before the end of the month. More on that later. But
well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
But yeah, what else you got?
So that's our main one. We also have the awkward mustache. Is it cool to can I show the pedals on the camera?
Name. I love that name.
This is the awkward mustache. Hopefully it doesn't show reversed on the video.
No, it's good.
Okay, cool. And here's a gut shot for you. This is actually the second version of the very first pedal that we made. I had a customer come by with a Dan Electro Cool Cat Fuzz version 1, which is a Frantone Peach Fuzz basically, but made using like all surface mount components. And it wasn't working. He asked me if I could fix it. I personally don't work on surface mount, so I wasn't able to, but you know, having just taken my audio electronics 1 course, I was like, I can probably build you one on Stripboard if you give me a little bit of time. And so he's really patient with me, really nice. Waited a couple months, and we came up with the awkward mustache.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah, which is kind of like just an homage to like all the funny hair names of Big Muff variants.
Yes,
the Frantone Peach Fuzz, the Big Muff itself, the Gray Stash.
Love it.
Yeah. Then we did a couple mods to the circuit. Again, it's one that like cleans up really, really, really great. You can kind of get it to being almost like just a clean boost with a Big Muff tone stack, which is a pretty unique sound.
Yeah.
But we also have like the tone defeat for like the Smashing Pumpkins thing, and then a super switch, which I kind of stole from the super tone bender, the color sound super tone bender. Which what they did was, so Big Muffs are 4 transistor circuits, and the 2 middle transistors are where the soft clipping happens. And so the super tone bender removes stage 2 soft clipping, so you get more bass.
Okay.
And so since this circuit does not ordinarily have any clipping diodes, I added them in on the stage before last. So it's kind of like a reverse super switch, but that doesn't play as well as super switch does.
Hey, if it makes it sound more super, that's perfect.
Yeah, man.
That's good. That's good.
And super's all relative anyway.
That's right. Superman, what does that even mean?
Yeah. You know? Who knows? Impossible to say.
Exactly.
And then we've got our newest pedal coming out on November 16th is the Smalls Fuzz, which is kind of like a modified Sam Ash Fuzz. My buddies at Smalls Music Shop opened up their store on June 1st, which was the day that Sam Ash closed. And
wow.
Just totally serendipitous. They had nothing to do with the closing of Sam Ash.
Smalls Music shut down Sam Ash? I can see the headlines now.
I know, man. But so a lot of people don't know, back in the day, Sam Ash had a signature fuzz. It was like the red pizza enclosure. And so I thought it would be funny to kind of repurpose that schematic and give Smalls Music Shop a signature pedal. So they have the Smalls Fuzz now.
Nice.
which is a Sam Ash fuzz into just into like a boost. So like all 60s fuzzes, that it barely goes above Unity. The tone control's not that good, so did
Fix
some
that
mods
up.
to fix all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Very cool, man. Well, thanks for the rundown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We are approaching the end of the podcast, and I have some classic questions that I like to wrap this show up on.
Oh, sure.
But before I do that, I'd like to give the guest the chance to take the stage. You know, you're talking to a few thousand people right now. You can shout out anybody you want to shout out. You can plug anything you want to plug. Say hello to your aunt or whatever. You know, the floor is yours. Yeah.
So I guess I want to shout out our next couple of public events that are coming up on November 16th. We're going to be at Small's Music Shop in Wilmington, Delaware, doing a Meet Your Maker event. I'm going to have some prototypes for folks to try out and also pedals for sale. My buddy Josh from Strange Audio Electronics is also going to be there. He makes the most beautiful tweed style amps that you've ever seen, and they look sound
cool.
great.
Yeah.
So he'll be there with a couple amps and a new prototype also, I believe. And then on December 8th is the return of the Philly Pedal Show at Johnny Brenda's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing time. Big thanks to Bram from Pedalscopic Sounds for organizing everything.
Yeah. Shout out Bram.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of really great brands there. I can't remember all of them right now, but there'll be at least Champion Lucky, Dirge Electronics, Root Beer Audio, us, and Fuzzrocious. And at least 4 or 5 more that I'm sorry I can't remember right now.
Well, look it up on the internet. You'll be able to find it. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. That sounds like a good time, and I kind of wish I was going to be there, but I probably won't be. Maybe I will be. Maybe I won't be. I don't know.
We got cheesesteaks, man. We got cheesesteaks in Philly.
I've never been to Philly. I need to fix that. I've never been there. That seems wrong. That doesn't seem... my son's name is Rocky. I should have been to Philly.
Come on, man.
All right, here we go. Classic questions.
All right.
First one. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
Oh, favorite Boss pedal. I'm going to go with the DM2.
Ooh, well, you can't go wrong there. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
like the perfect analog delay pedal.
It sounds so good in every situation. It just works.
Yeah.
And that color, I love looking at it. The DM2 is great. Yeah. I should get another one. Why? Because why not, really, is the answer.
I went through a phase of buying broken ones on Reverb for like $80. And it's usually, they're all 30 years old at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually it's just replace the electrolytic caps and it works fine again.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, for $80, great pedal.
You can't go. I have to spice up my soldering skills before I get in there. I don't know. I'm not bad at soldering, but as a Cyclops, it's a little challenging. I'm like, well, missed it. No, missed it. There, I got it. Yeah, anyway, that's the story for another time. Classic question number 2. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Favorite kind of pizza? I don't know if I'm a hipster for saying this, but I'm all about the hot honey pizza right now.
I love the hot honey pizza.
Yeah.
Man, that's the second time in 2 days I've been talking about the hot honey pizza.
Dude, yeah, we have a place down here, Nick's Pizza. Friggin' awesome hot honey.
Nice. The first time I heard about that, I wasn't sure. I'll admit, I was skeptical. I had it at Roberta's. I think the original place that started doing it in Brooklyn. And yeah, I was immediately like, "Oh, I was wrong. This is phenomenal."
Yeah, it's life changing. Truly,
it is. You don't want like a ton. I think people think you like are covering it like you do like a short stack of pancakes with maple syrup. Like no, it's not like that. It's just it's just a little bit.
Yeah,
just enough. Try it, people. They sell Mike's Hot Honey everywhere at this point. Just try it on a good slice of pepperoni, and just be happy. I like it.
Heck yeah.
Well, John, thank you so much for coming on. I think we should slide over to Patreon and see what kind of nonsense we can get into over there if that works for you.
Sweet. That sounds awesome.
Cool. All right, everybody. For John, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, folks, there you have it. There's another episode in the can. And if you need more, please slide over to Patreon, where there are additional bonus episodes beamed right to your ears every single week, including this week with John. Yes, we talk about aliens. We're getting into it over there. So if you would like that and you'd like to get access to the ad-free feed, $5 a month is all it takes, and it really, really moves the needle in a huge way over here. This is still primarily a one-man operation. I do have some assistants in the editing department these days. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate you so much. But I do everything else, and none of it would be possible without you. So thank you so much. Thank you again for supporting Stringjoy for a whole decade. And I'll talk to you on the internet very soon. Bye-bye. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.
Hey there, I am Johnny Christ from Avenged Sevenfold, and I've got a podcast called Drinks with Johnny you're going to want to check out. I sit down with a bunch of different people from all different walks of life, from professional wrestlers to actors, comedians, fighters, musicians, everything in between. I'm just looking to make some friends and have a good time doing it. So if that sounds like something you're into, go check out Drinks with Johnny, streaming everywhere now.
Hey, this is Dewey Halpus, host of Pure Pleasure on the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. Join me each week as I explore another long-form conversation with one of your favorite musicians, actors, comedians, or creatives. From Chino Moreno of the Deftones, John Gorley of Portugal the Man, to Fat Mike from NoFX and Ian MacKaye from Fugazi and Minor Threat, we go all over the map. From Fall Out Boy to Slayer, Pure Pleasure has it all. Check us out now on Sound Talent Media.